Hey guys, welcome into today's video. I want to go over all of my basically like holy grail drugstore products that I've almost used all of these up. I have repurchased them. I've almost used them up and have repurchased them. They just stand out in the market and I just love them so much and they work so well for me, my preferences, my skin type, that sort of thing, etc. So let's just hop right into it and we'll get started on going over these products. Okay, so I have mostly here like one from every category. Some I kind of have two and then like honorable mentions. I did do this video for best of like high end, those that I would always repurchase. So this is just the drugstore equivalent of that. It's interesting to see which products I've actually repurchased before and those that the packaging is just so worn down that you can tell that I've reached for it over and over again. So I had fun doing this. So let's just get into it. I don't have a primer, a drugstore primer. Unfortunately, I just haven't tried any drugstore primers that really became my holy grail in my collection. I have quite a few. It's just that I don't use primers that often and I really don't have a drugstore one that I've just loved and loved. So I'm just gonna jump right into complexion products. So the first one that I have here is the Tinted Hydrator from Wet n Wild. This is a tinted skin veil with hyaluronic acid and squalene. It's oil-free, sheer to medium coverage. And I will link all the prices below in the description box. So this right here really performs well for my skin type. It lays on the skin beautifully. It is the foundation that I am wearing today, or the skin tint that I am wearing today. I have a lot of foundations in my collection. I have a lot of skin tints in my collection. I've tried a lot from the drugstore, but there aren't a lot that I keep reaching for or that perform quite as well as this one right here. It just performs really well for me where a lot of others really don't. You can't see it in this squeezy tube, and this is a fairly new product for me, but it's about half gone already, so I have used this quite a bit. One complexion product that I do want to give a shout out to is the L'Oreal True Match Nude, the hyaluronic tinted serum. So this one I purchased, it's about a quarter of the way gone. I did shake it a little bit, but you can kind of see that it's gone like right there. This is also fairly new for me. This actually provides a little bit more coverage than the Tinted Hydrator. It was a heavier formula than I thought it was going to be for a tinted serum, but it was so beautiful on the skin. It lasts longer than this does and has a more matte finish than this does, so I don't always reach for it because I'm not always into like super matte finishes. I do like a radiant finish, but I like to have a variety in my collection, and so for that reason this one is a really good one. It's not one that I've like repurchased yet or continue to reach for on a more frequent basis like this one is, but it is like a good second, so I wanted to give a shout out to this one. Moving on to concealers. So this one was super easy for me. It's one that I reach for all the time. It's very, very popular. There are no other drugstore concealers in my collection that I've reached for more than this one, even in the same brand. The lettering on the packaging is like half off. The product is almost gone. I have repurchased this. I will repurchase it. When I travel, I even take it. It's a holy grail for sure. So this is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. As you can see, the lettering is almost gone. Even over here, this is almost gone. This product is like half finished or more than half finished. It like has a hole in the middle of it. Like I've used this. I love it. Why I know these stand out for me is because in my collection that's larger than your average person should have, and then stuck at home during COVID, that I ended up just really getting into makeup a lot more. So it makes it extremely difficult to go through products at any rate other than a little bit across the board for every product. So when I have something that's like this now, that's this used up, I know that it's a holy grail for me. I love this. I will continue to reach for this. It's just tried and true. It works really great. It is a medium coverage. It's not super full coverage, but it never cakes, it never creases. It gives me the right amount of coverage. It's just perfect. And I even like it better than the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser. It is a good one, but I think this one is better. Okay, so moving on to loose finishing powders, or just powders in general. The next one I have up here, you'll see, and I'll show you, it is almost half gone as well. It's one that I reach for over and over again, and it's also from Maybelline. So this is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. So as you can see, like it is half gone as well. It's hard for me to go through powders because I don't use it that often, and when I do, it's like the smallest amount. This is just a really good one. In drugstore and high-end alike, it performs extremely well. It performs better than some of my high-end finishing powders. This one is in the shade Fair Light, so it does provide a little bit of coverage, not too much, but I love this. I have extremely dry skin, so a lot of powders, no matter how finely milled they are, they do sometimes look a little powdery and cakey on me, even with like a fixing spray or a setting spray or something like that. So this one generally doesn't do it on me. It is one that I love, and when I look at my powders and I'm like, oh, I'm extra dry today, which one can I actually reach for? Because, you know, maybe I want to kind of set my forehead or like around my chin sometimes where I get a little bit oily. This is one I think about grabbing for, and it works for me. The next one, because I do have two powders from the drugstore, this is the flower powder from Beauty Bakerie. This is their setting powder. This is in the shade Oat Translucent. So this again is one that is about half gone. I'm just surprised. Like, I picked this up, I think on a whim, because the packaging was really cute, and it was quite a while ago. It was probably 2 years ago at this point, so I didn't know what to expect. But when I tried it, it worked extremely well for my super dry skin. And so this is another one when I'm thinking about which powder can I grab for the day that's gonna not make me extra dry because I'm having an extra dry day. This is one that I will also reach for. It's just really nice. I'm just shocked. This is my second one, and I actually have a backup, so I know that if I repurchase it, it's definitely a good one, and this one is staying with me. I will continue to repurchase this. All right, so for my shout out product in the powder department, it's another one from Maybelline. This is the Lasting Fix Translucent Setting Powder All Day Matte Finish in Banana. So this definitely has more of a matte finish than I would say the Maybelline Fit Me does, but it's so finely milled and it works so well for my skin type. Again, it's about half gone. It's hard to see, but I reach for this a lot. I like that it gives a little bit of coverage. I usually use this kind of like under the eye, but I'll use it all over the face. I'm really not that picky. I really like this, so I wanted to give a shout out to this one. It doesn't rank higher than these other two, but it comes in third, so I thought I would mention that as well. All right, so next up for bronzer, this one was super easy. It's not only one that I love from the drugstore, it's one of my all-time favorite bronzers. So this is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze. This is such a nice buildable formula. It's perfect for my skin tone. This is in the shade 01 Light. It works beautifully for me. It says it's a sun-kissed bronze for face and body, and that's exactly what it does. It's not overly pigmented. It's just such a beautiful, luminous, radiant finish. It's not overly like orange or warm toned. It's very neutral toned. This is probably my favorite bronzer in my entire collection. I would say if you haven't tried this, that you really should pick this up. I am wearing like all of these products on my face today. For the most part, I don't have the next category, which is blush on, because it just didn't really go with this eye look with the shades that I have in these formulas. So let's do it. Let's jump into blushes. So next up, I have in two different formulas. I did a cream and a powder formula. So the first one here is in the cream formula. This is from the Creme Shop. This is their Tres Cheek in the shade Coral. This one here really surprised me. So I think we were waiting around in CVS for a prescription to be filled, and I had seen this and I thought, oh, that's kind of cute packaging. You know, maybe I'll just try it out. I really hadn't tried anything from the Creme Shop. I think this is the only product that I've tried from them, and I didn't know what to expect, and that I don't have any other cushion blushes. I love this. This immediately blew my socks off. It gives a radiant finish. It is a super long wearing blush. In terms of drugstore blushes, this might be one of my longest wearing blushes, and that's really what I look for. Like, it can be pigmented or it can be a more buildable formula, but what really impresses me when it's a long lasting formula, because I don't like reapplying anything and I like my blush to stay all day. So this was extremely long wearing. Like, it's almost gone. I can press it and like nothing will come off because this thing is almost empty. There I go, I got some. It's just so beautiful. I really liked this shade. It still gives this really, like, I don't know, beautiful finish. I just love this. I will continue to repurchase this because I really do like this in my collection, and it was one that I hadn't heard anybody talk about. Now I have seen Johnny Ross here on YouTube talk about this, but you know, it's 2.5 years after I tried it. So I've already loved this. I think this is a great one. I will continue to repurchase it. So the shout out product from the cream blush department is the Cheek Kiss Cream Blush from Milani, and this one is in the shade Nude Kiss. I love this formula. It is so creamy and fantastic. I think I have a lot of cream blushes at this point, probably way too many. But in terms of drugstore options, this one is fantastic. It is not as long wearing as the Creme Shop blush, but it has such a nice finish. It's so easy to apply. It dries down really well, and it stays for a relatively good amount of time. So I wanted to do a shout out on this one for sure. It's not my favorite, but if I had to grab for 2 drugstore cream blushes, it would be these two, hands down. Okay, next for powder blushes, this one was super easy. It is again from Milani. This is their Baked Powder Blush. This one is in the shade Luminoso. The lettering is completely worn off. I reached for this almost exclusively at one point, and I didn't grab for any other blush ever. This was the only one that I reached for. It's just such a luminous, beautiful, buildable formula blush. It's right here. It's so gorgeous. This is drugstore and high-end alike. It performs very uniquely from other blushes. I love it. I love it so much I do have multiple shades in this one. This one is in Dolce Pink. It's kind of too pinky for me. I wanted to pick up a different shade because I loved this formula so much, but it's a little bit more pink than I'm reaching for these days, so I don't grab for it as often. This doesn't have a huge dip in it, but it's a baked form. Oh, no, it does. It kind of does. Like, it used to be more rounded. Like I said, I grabbed for this blush exclusively at one point. Didn't grab for anything else. Wore that blush every single day. Okay, next up for highlighters. I have in the powder formula the one from Revlon. So this is the Skin Lights Prismatic Highlighter. This is just an all-around fantastic formula. And here is the finish right here. It's just so natural. It melts into the skin. The baked formula just makes it super creamy and glides right onto the skin. It is just such a great highlighter for the price point. There's no glitters in it. It's just beautiful. I loved when they can do baked products at an affordable price. So this one is fantastic. This is in the shade 201 Daybreak Glimmer. It's got to be a holy grail. Like, if you were going to ask me to grab one highlighter out of all of them that I have, like, this would be a high contender. But for drugstore, it's my top drugstore highlighter. So for the shout out department, again, I want to give this one to Winky Lux. This is their Strobing Balm, and this is in the shade Radiant Pink. This is not something that I grab for all the time, so it's not necessarily my holy grail because I don't love a lot of cream highlighting products. I prefer a powder highlighter, but this is the best cream highlighter product that I have tried in drugstore and high-end alike. It is my favorite cream highlighter in my entire collection. It is the most emollient formula that I have tried that is a cream product and not a liquid. It is so beautiful. It creates the most like beautiful glow. It really looks natural in the skin. Like, once you blend it out, it dries down. It doesn't stay tacky. It really just gives you like this lit from within glow. I just love this. Again, I probably picked this up walking through Target thinking, let me just get some new makeup. And I like a lot of Winky Lux products, not just because they're cute packaging, but also because they're cute packaging, but because I have a lot of them that I actually like in my collection. I think they perform really well, and I think they're kind of an underrated brand, if you ask me. And I picked this up, brought it home, and was like, whoa, this is really nice. That doesn't rank as high for me because I prefer powder products, but it is just so good. It is my favorite cream highlighter. Okay, next up for mascara. This one was again really easy. I'm gonna have to give it to the Essence Lash Princess. This is the False Effect Lash or False Lash Effect. I do have 2 of these. One of these, this one right here, is nearly empty and needs to go in the trash. So I did have a backup. I think so far I've purchased 3 of these since they've released. This is just such a great drugstore formula. I'm a huge Maybelline mascara fan. I always have been. They've been around a really long time. They were very popular when I was starting to get into makeup when I was a teenager. So as far as like the drugstore mascaras that generally work really well for me and are just kind of tried and true are the Maybelline line. But in terms of like holy grail, ones that I really like that aren't Maybelline products, that I just reach for time and time again is this Essence, the False Lash Effect one. It's just a really nice brush tip. I really like when the applicators are like this, when they're very soft, because you can apply it very easily to both the upper and lower lashes, and then they don't like hurt me when I have to get too close. I just really like it. It is kind of a wet formula, which I do really like, but it dries down really quickly. The only thing that I do notice with this is on a sweaty day, it will transfer where a lot of my other mascaras won't. So that's the one con in this. But in terms of like, Carrie, go to your drawer, grab something from the drugstore in a mascara department. You can't have any other one. I'm grabbing these. Like, top 5 mascaras of all time in terms of my preferences. I really love those. Again, from the shout out department, it's gonna go to Maybelline. It's gonna be the Sky High Lash Sensational. So I know that this was kind of a love it or hate it product, but I like these unassuming wands. I don't like getting really close to like my eye. I have like a sensitivity and I freak out when it gets too close. Anything that kind of like goes around my face, like too close, I kind of jump. I really don't like it. So when these wands are a little bit nicer, when I can like get really close in there and it doesn't irritate me, it's nice because when it does, I will sometimes like jump and then I will get it everywhere, and I hate that. So I love the wand on this. It is a little bit flimsy, but I kind of like that because again, I need something that's a little unassuming so it doesn't hurt me. And I am really into a formula that is lengthening and doesn't clump up on my lashes. I don't like more voluminous lashes when they're clumpy. I just don't like that. So this one is like the number 2, I would say, drugstore mascara that I have in my collection and that I've tried. I have tried a lot of Maybelline mascaras, like I said, over the years that I've really liked, but in terms of repurchases, I've repurchased this a couple of times now, so that's a runner-up. Okay, so moving on to, and I skipped this, so I should move into this category next, which is eyeshadows. Now, eyeshadows. I almost didn't have an eyeshadow in this video because there just really aren't very many drugstore eyeshadows that stand out, that would be my holy grails, that I would go and repurchase when I ran out of. And there are so many indie brands and high-end eyeshadows that I just prefer better. So for eyeshadow, I had to pick or give it to the Flower Beauty Desert Lights eyeshadow. This palette is all shimmers, but it is such a unique shimmer formula. There are no other eyeshadows in the drugstore that I think work like this. Flower Beauty has had other eyeshadows in the past. They just, I don't know, they're not as good as this. My holy grail drugstore eyeshadows that I would purchase over and over again that are super unique in my entire collection are these shadows, hands down. Now she has 2 of these. One is actually in like a darker color story than this one. I'm just swatching it really quickly, but I don't really want that darker color story. I don't go for super dark shadows usually with metallic or shimmer shades very often. I'm starting to get into it, but very often. So I just picked up the Desert Lights one. So I'm going to show you here. Here it is swatched. These are the most creamy, buttery, shiny shimmer shades. I don't know, not only just in the drugstore, but also in like my collection. They perform only similarly to like indie shadows that are done really, really well. So that is a must-have if you're into very metallic shimmer shades and you want an affordable drugstore like option. Okay, next up for lip products, not the last but second to last category, I had to give this to the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. So not only do I reach for this time and time again, it's beautiful, it's longer wearing than a lot of glosses I have, again, both high-end and drugstore, but I've used it and used it. What can I say? I have 4 here. So I actually have 2 that are in the shade Pearl. They have like a shimmer on them. It is what I'm wearing on my lips right now. But I liked it so much I ended up getting another one. I think I thought I was going to give it to my daughter, but I ended up just keeping it for myself because I liked it so much. Then I picked up the shade Petal, and then I think this is the shade Silk. So Petal is like pink, and this is more like neutral, kind of mauve-y toned. It's very beautiful. But yeah, I mean, they just last a long time. They don't transfer too much. They're very beautiful. They feel good. They're not sticky. They're just a tremendous gloss, and they're popular for good reason. So I had to give it to these Maybelline Lifter glosses. Okay, so for the final category, setting sprays, I actually don't use setting sprays that often, and most of the ones that I have in my collection actually are high-end as opposed to drugstore options, but there is one right now that I am reaching for all of the time that does a really good job, and I use it right after I powder. I think it just refreshes my makeup. I think it takes away some of the like powder finish and it makes me look not cakey, and I'm really, really loving it right now, and I think it performs fantastically. So it is the Pixi Makeup Fixing Mist. You can see I have used about half of this. I don't use setting sprays that often, so to have used up this much and as much as I am grabbing for this one, it is just sitting on top. I think it is tremendous. I think the only downside to this is that the sprayer really sucks on it. It comes off very strong, but it feels so good on the face. It performs really well. It's just become like a holy grail for me. I know that when I run out of this, I'm going to grab another for sure. So had to throw that one in here. The very final shout out I have to do, and this is not a makeup category, this is a makeup application product, is the e.l.f. sponge, the face sponge. I have tried so many sponges, so many high-end, drugstore, name brand, off-brand, like whatever, you name it. I'm a sponge freak. I don't like to wash them. I just like to buy new ones. But this e.l.f. sponge I have repurchased, I don't know, a dozen times at this point. This is just so fantastically bouncy. It expands really well when it's wet. It just applies my makeup seamlessly. It is just a sponge I keep reaching for over and over. Sometimes complexion products, the application just messes up the way they look on my face. And so when I use this e.l.f. sponge, 10 out of 10 times, the makeup looks really good. And I attribute it to the e.l.f. sponge. I think these are great. I think they're like maybe $6 a piece and then like $12 for the duo. They sell them in duos a lot, so that's generally how I pick them up. Again, I'll link all of the prices down below. This is one that I'm reaching for every day, and it's one that I've purchased, like I said, probably a dozen times. I like to have at least one of those in my collection at all times. So that is it. I did my full wrap up of my Holy Grail drugstore products. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below if any of these are your Holy Grails, if you've tried any of these, if you're interested in picking any of these up. I would love to hear from you, as I am new to YouTube, just starting my channel. Only been on probably like 5 weeks at this point, so I'm having a really good time. I hope you are too. I hope you consider subscribing to my channel so you stick around, and I'll see you again. Bye.